Awards.
5 days of awards.
Inspirations and solutions.
Inspirations and solutions.
Radio Week.
Radio Week. 5 days of awards.
5 days of awards.
Inspirations and solutions.
Inspirations and solutions.
Radio Week.
Hello and welcome back. Here we are for the first RedTech talk of the day, and we're going to talk today about virtualization, the cloud, and radio. And I'd like to welcome Gary Klein, who's going to moderate the session. Gary Klein is president of Klein Consulting, and he's from the US. I'd also like to welcome Jose Lorero. He is assistant technology director for, again, this is going to be an issue, Jose, sorry for this, Grupo Renaissance Multimedia.
Yeah.
Bravo. And also Philippe Generale, welcome from the US. He is the CEO of RCS, and he's based in New York. Welcome all.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want me to start?
Yeah, hello to
Gary.
everyone. I'm here as well. Just hello to
Philippe.
Philippe. That was a nice video you made this morning, Philippe.
Thank you.
So we were with Lionel and talking about great products with the Zeta Cloud and Revma, and you said a little hello. That was really nice of you to have this small video. So I'll let Gary lead this great session. Thank you all for being part of the Radio Week with RedTech Tribe.
And thanks everybody for having us here and for having allowing me to moderate. Just before we started the session, when we were testing our mics and cameras, Jose and Philippe and I were able to talk just a little bit about cloud technology, and share some of our thoughts on it. So I think we're going to have a great panel today. The first thing I'd like to do is go around the room briefly and have each person describe what they do. Jose, I know you're in Lisbon. You have signals that cover your country of Portugal. And while you're not using cloud fully yet, you are using some things that are in the cloud, the arc of cloud, and you have other ideas about things you want to do. So would you mind telling everybody what station you work at, how that's configured within the country? And then we'll go to Philippe.
Sure. As probably you know, Portugal is not a very large country, so it's easy to imagine that a radio station is national. In our group, we have 3 national stations, a full service station that it targets more or less the 35 to 44 year olds audience. It covers national, has a big efforts on news, some talk, also entertainment. It's not a purely talk station, but has a lot of content in that sense of knowledge. We also have RFM, which is one of the most listened radio in Portugal, also national. More a music-based station with a lot of humor, and especially on our morning show with a very dynamic morning show with 5 hosts, so a lot of interaction as well. And then Mega, which is the studio I'm in at the moment, it's for the youngers, the CHR, and also with a huge objective of being very close to their audience and make sure that even this younger generation that people sometimes tend to say that they don't care about radio anymore, that they love radio and they continue to listen to radio and love the radio as we all do, and as we like that to happen. We definitely are not in cloud-based in a cloud-based solution, but we've been using already, even before all these issues with the lockdown, we were already using for some special events outside the tools that Zeta was already giving us as the to-go tools, meaning that our solutions to control our our automation systems remotely, very easily on a laptop, on a mobile phone, or on a tablet, in a very, very easy way. So yes, when I look into cloud and when I listen Philip very enthusiastic talking about clouds and all the solution that RCS is showing us about having the radio on the cloud, I obviously start by thinking that it's a great disaster recovery solution and make us all very comfortable, but it can go further away and maybe it can give me a lot more flexibility, even more than what I have already, to create content anywhere from everywhere, and maybe having contributors that are not really part of my organization, but that can very securely for my infrastructure contribute very easily and use the same tools we use in-house from anywhere. So honestly, for me, that's the key point, is that making sure that the radio can be made almost from anywhere and by anyone.
Philippe, I know that you work for RCS, and I know that RCS for many years has been known around the world, literally, for music scheduling, automation, letting people will know it as Zeta. Some will know it as RCS. We even remember Master Control. And obviously you're working, I know that you're working diligently and already have some cloud-based products, and you're working diligently on others. Can you talk a little bit about where you're at with that, and then maybe share some of your thoughts on why cloud matters? Obviously, you have clients and customers asking for these things. You build what people want typically, and sometimes you build things that people don't know they want yet, but they will want. You want to be, as we say, where the puck, the hockey puck is going. So can you spend a few minutes to just talk about those things?
Yes, I think it's Henry Ford who said if I'd asked the customer what they wanted, they would have told me that they wanted a faster horse, and they decided to build a car instead. So it's a little bit looking at our customer, listening to what they need, and discussing with them what it would be. So we started looking at the cloud about 3.5 years ago. We set out a separate unit with people that went to Austin, Texas, where there's a lot of talent there, and we had a bunch of engineers working on coming up with a solution that would be really scalable, and engineered for a true cloud operating system platform, not putting some equipment in a data center, but really being native on a cloud operating system, so that people don't have to worry about hardware. Engineers don't have to know whether the servers are big enough and are fast enough, and when they go down, when they go up, and how much you have to invest to buy that. Something where essentially you could give your credit card, and then you can run one channel or 1,000 channel, and you can have one user or 1,000 users, and you would not have to know to increase the resources or anything like that. That's the cloud. I mean, the people who invented that technology are no else than the largest company on the planet. It's Amazon, right? And they had to solve the problem of look, there are some moments where there's very few people on my website, and when it comes December 23rd on Amazon, there's tens of millions of people that are ordering stuff, and they expect to have it at their door the next morning. So that puts the website in a big stress environment, and they solved it. So why don't we use that technology to build a radio station that would be scalable, whether you want to do one channel or 1,000 channels, whether you want to create an instant channel for an artist that just passed away, and you want to do 24 hours only on that artist. You can start that channel, give the link, and it takes nothing else than putting the song together and sending them to a stream. And of course, you can run your FM, your DAB, anything else on the cloud. So essentially, we have a way to be accessible and offer the content from anywhere. So it's really a solution where all your assets are up there, your music, your spots, your jingles, your news, everything is in the cloud. It's safe. There's automatic redundancy. You don't even have to copy anything anywhere because it's up there. And natively, it's a multi-user capability. So you can work with people that are in different cities. I can call Jose in Lisbon and say, hey, how about you create a station for the New Year in Portuguese with Portuguese music, and he'll be on the air within minutes of that, and without buying any equipment.
Let me ask you about that. I think I know the answer, but I always learn something new, and I'm sure there are a number of people that are watching this live or will watch this later.
You know a lot, Gary, already. So.
Thank you. That's nice of you to say. And there may be a lot of people, we hope, watching this later on YouTube or the RadioWeek website and other places. But you just mentioned spinning up a radio, what I call spinning up a radio station in just a matter of minutes. Philippe, is that possible because you already have the music library online? You can license it to somebody right away. You have music scheduling capability in the cloud, I suppose, through G Selector. And so you have all the tools, and with a quick phone call or however it is somebody makes the request to you, you can put all of these things together for almost any kind of format.
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
And you see, what's interesting with the cloud is that what you mentioned, Gary, is only solving content problem, not any engineering issue, not anything to buy, not worrying about the machines or anything. You already did not mention that, which is like the amazing part of the cloud. It's like it's only, you have to worry about only about content. You want to do a station. What am I going to put in here? Where does the music come from? And how am I going to put that together? So it's just by the way you described it, Gary, it's the perfect way to give the creative people at a radio station, the people that invent, the people that put their heart and soul into creating content, the keys to the station, saying, knock yourself out. And you know what? Once you're done, I want 10 others that are variation on the tempo of what you do. And you don't have to say, oh, as an engineer, say, time out. I mean, I bought the equipment to run 2 stations. I didn't buy the equipment to run 10 stations. So now we're going to have computers, and we got to have a purchase order, and then it's going to be capital expenditure and so forth, and you have to amortize that. No, you know what? You do it. It will last 3 days if you want to, because you're celebrating some kind of event locally in your country. And once it's done, you turn it off. The same way the website of Amazon has 50 million people on the website at any one time on December 21st or 23rd or whatever. And then on January 2nd, there's nobody. It's dead. They don't spend any CPU cycle. And that's the same thing with the cloud. If you have a system which is native for the cloud, it will scale up and it will scale down. Just like magic. It goes up, you have tens and hundreds of thousands of listeners, and when you're done, it disappears and you don't pay anything. Just like you switch on and you switch off.
Absolutely. And Philippe, so a couple of things to follow up on that. One of the things you just mentioned, which other folks who sell cloud services mention routinely, and I think we ought to talk about it for a minute, is that, as you said, you can turn something on or turn it off as you need. Maybe you want to launch a format, a new, music format tomorrow, last minute, and it makes the content creation job for the program director that much easier, that much more stress-free. The engineer coming it from his angle doesn't have to worry about buying a bunch of equipment and having it overnighted, and all of those helpful things. But sometimes we like to launch things, and actually this gives us the capability to do this on a more cost-effective basis, we launch things for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. Maybe it's a Christmas format that you only need for 4 to 5 or 6 weeks, depending on when you start that up. Here in the US, it seems like people start playing Christmas music in October. It may be different around the world. And take that, Philippe, and also expand it to a larger radio network or state network in Europe or in other places in the world where maybe you operate 300 or 400 radio stations, or maybe 50 radio stations, but at any given time you need to change that, or you need to bump it up to 60 or down to 40. You can buy a cloud license and pay only for what you need, right? Can you talk about that for a minute?
That is correct.
Because it's a different way of thinking than we've thought when we've dealt with hardware. It's a different way of thinking about how we budget and monetize this.
Of course. So you explain it very well if you want. Ephemeral use. Ephemeral use example is for the disaster recovery. So your station is in trouble because you have a virus that's just hit the entire station. All right, it's some malware that got here. Some DJ downloaded some phishing link, and now you're infected everywhere. We've had that in the U.S. At many groups, and it's a terrible thing because you have to turn off all computers across all networks of all your stations. We had a client that has 300 radio stations. They have to turn all the computers all the time, run the antivirus, and then turn them back on. And if one of them was not there to turn on, was not being turned on at the time, it goes back on and it reinfects the rest. So when you can move to the cloud. There's no virus on the cloud. Our software is written in Linux, in containers. Nobody has ever written any virus, any malware for Linux. So your assets are safe. So you can use that while you recover from your station. This is ephemeral. The other example is you want to change the organization of your radio station. So one of the largest broadcasters in the world is doing just that, embracing the cloud as a permanent solution. And therefore, what that does is that it reduces your footprint because you don't need to have rack space. You don't need to have technical teams that are taking care of everything. So just in real estate alone, the station is going to save a lot. And the investment is perennial because you know what? You don't have to buy a new machine. Amazon will do that for you. They take care of updating their machine. So the cloud is always on. There's automatic redundancy, multi-user capability, and it's something that always has the latest and greatest technology. So permanent, when you do it permanently at the radio station, it's a profound change in philosophy of how you run a station. You can run a station from where you are here, Margaret. You can run your station from where you are, and Philippe, you can do your radio station from where you are, and you don't have to move. You don't have to do anything, and it can be a permanent solution, 24/7. The stream is quite high quality enough that it goes straight to your FM signal, and that's it.
I think you've just given Marguerite a new career opportunity to run her own radio station. I think that's a great idea.
She doesn't have a lot to do, so yeah, she can stop.
Yeah, I have nothing to do, but I have saved me some questions.
She's bored with nothing to do. Well, when she gets a moment, she can start her own radio station. Jose, we spoke just before we started today while we were in our little virtual holding room, and you explained to me where you're at with cloud, some of the things you've done with RCS2Go. Which you can explain to people. But I commented that, and I'm saying it here now for everybody to hear, you're in this unique position as it relates to our talk today. You're somebody who embraces it, but hasn't fully converted yet, but plans to do so when they can. So you're like, I think, a lot of the people that are watching this that don't have cloud yet and are thinking, wow, I hear a lot about it. I want to buy some. I want to explain it to my boss. I get all the advantages. There may be some I don't know, but there are plenty I do know. Jose, from your point of view, based on where you sit, when you have to go to your boss or the person who writes the check, what is your pitch to them? What are you going to say? How are you going to drill this down, distill this down into somebody maybe who's not technical, can understand. Here's what we want to do. Here's why we want to do it. Here are the benefits to our company, on and on. I'd like to get your take on that.
It's fine. I'd just like to start by sharing that something that Philippe almost said or referred in the end of his intervention, which was about culture. I think one of the main drawbacks on the cloud, in fact, is culture. And the people, even the boards, are used to analyze the investments and make sure that you have everything on premises, that you have control over everything that you need to be. It gives a wrong feeling of security. That's I'm in control. I know what's happening. I know the systems. I have my redundancy here, etc. And in fact, in my perspective, it's a lot better to have it on cloud for everything that Philippe was highlighting about all the safety that it gives to you. And for the so this is more in engineering perspective. So for me, and once the culture of and the habits of having control over the things are over, what you know is that on the cloud-based solutions, you are a lot safer. You have redundancy without having to worry about that and invest on that. And you have a huge team instead of having 2 or 3 technicians worried about all your IT infrastructure. You have a huge team that takes care about your and 1,000 more clients, but with a lot more specialization, a lot more knowledge, and constant updates of the equipment. So if that's one part, and for sure, one of my approaches to the board is we can stop having to worry about upgrades and the maintenance of the equipment, all the computers behind the systems, and we can relax on that part. In the other hand, I would for sure argue about the agility of making radio and making different things on radio, especially in an era where everything is happening very fast, where the users love to have the things on the palm of their hands and the control of things. So when I think about radio in cloud, and I reinforce that exactly as it happened with to-go features on the RCS products, where you could feel that was not just a remote control of something that was created on a to-go minds. It was
native.
Yes,
really native.
They were not just creating a way of you to control your system. They were giving you a parallel world on the move that felt the same but worked a lot better. If the cloud solution is developed in that same way, and I believe that it's what RCS is doing, then you can have, or I can at least hope that we will have solutions that will give us a lot more flexibility, I was saying, but for example, to create new products, not only creating new radios, but maybe creating products where the listener can interact directly with the radio, or have contributors that are not part of the company again, or maybe are not permanent contributors, but they are part of a contest, for example, and they are allowed now to program or to voice track 2 hours of my web radio station, and all I have to give them is a link, and they can access that link, have a laptop. Today we know that there's a lot of YouTubers, podcasters that have very good technical solutions at home, so you suddenly can just wide open your capacity of production in a very, very easy way. And so I think it's these 2 parts, in fact, the fact that you are a lot safer without having to invest in redundancy equipment and being always worried about how the systems are upgraded and up to date. And in the other hand, the way it opens to a completely new era for radio. And I was discussing here at Radio Week yesterday about the video and how the video is integrating the radio world, and why are we, one of the questions that we're making was, why did radio want to go into the video area where there was so many players already? And I have a maxim thought that is, we are the best, we, the radio people, are the best content producers in the world. We know how to produce content better than anyone, TV, news, whatever. If we can apply that to the concept of the multi-platform that we have today in the world, and if we can reach everyone, as we all were already the best medium doing it, we were always the proximity medium, but if we now can be that and can give power to people to contribute to our products, I think it's amazing. I think it's again a all new world opened. And having the stations and the automation systems, the scheduling systems on the cloud with a lot of security, then I can rethink what I can do, and I can manage talent in a completely different way that I used to do. Gary, you were asking me earlier again when we were talking offline yet about how many remote studios we have for the station in Portugal. And I was telling you that we used to have quite a few, and we reduced that number. When I think about cloud, I think that maybe soon, with no cost, I will have 10, 20, 30, 1,000, 1 million. Maybe I can have Margaret to contribute and to make a 1 hour show.
Again.
I'm going to be really busy.
I think we want to hire you, Marguerite. Don't go there.
Because it's very easy.
The show.
It's really easy, and I think
we had a demonstration this morning with Zeta Cloud, and how easy it is to just and it's very immediate. That's the thing, and that's what radio is. Radio is immediate.
And I have to share as well.
We're doing it, by the way, guys. We're in a virtual studio, the 5 of us here. This is a morning show that's going on, right? Yep. This is exactly the same thing. And you put jingles, you put sounds on the air. This is it. This is exactly what we're talking about.
But I would say, Philippe, that we still changed a little bit. One thing is that we are in a different environment. So what I felt, for example, with the To Go, and I would like to just say a small story about this, is that when we did the lockdown here in March, I sent every single one of our presenters was making radio from home, all of them, with Zeta To Go. Some of them just voice tracking, some of them live, but all at home. One of the good things was that for them, it was not a shock. Of course, they missed the mixing console. They mixed the studio itself, but the software and the way they had to manage the music, the sequence of the things, all the elements and the assets that were being played was the same. So for the presenter, which is a lot of times not a technical person, he was very comfortable, because yes, it's slightly different than what he used to have in the studio, but not that much. It's almost the same. I can share with you that we didn't have that solution at the time. We didn't implement that, and we didn't have any type of consoles. They were using just some audio interfaces connected to the laptop, so they didn't have a fader to use or a button to press to turn on the microphone. I had a couple of DJs that went out and they bought two Rode interfaces just to have that feeling of the fader, because they were saying, it's the only thing I miss. I need the fader. So they were doing radio on their offices at home, but they were comfortable. And here, when you were using the example of the StreamYard, yes, we have a TV studio here, but if we were from TV, we were not in our natural environment. This was something, we are on the internet, using a platform that allows us to do the same thing, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, with the quality of sound, which is not always wonderful.
But that's on TV, happens the same. The good sound is on radio.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, Gary, if I've
No, that's
answered
great.
your question.
That's really helpful. Again, you're in that unique position of being in the radio business, on the radio broadcast side, and somebody who's embraced cloud. So your comments and feedback is, I think, very helpful, certainly to me, and I'm sure to the people that are watching. Philippe, can you talk a little bit about the future? Ultimately, like any technology, we're in version 1 or we're in version 0.9, and there'll be a 1, maybe we're at 1.1 now. There'll be a version 2. There'll be a radio cloud 3.0. But can you talk about that? Where do you think things are going? Where do you think we'll be in another year or two, and even 3 or 4 or 5 years out? And let's talk about that, and also talk about it in terms of radio's survival, the need to have economies of scale, the need to be able to do more with smaller staff, and your perspectives on these things, because you deal with folks all over the world, and they are telling you what they think, and you're also coming up, as you said, you're building not a better or faster horse, but a better and faster car. So, because you have to take the initiative, and you have to be a leader in what you do in the business that you're in. So where do you think things are headed, and what are some of the things that are in your head in terms of where you think things ought to be going?
So look, yes, thank you for the kind word. RCS continues to lead the way forward. We've been the first in the mobile space, and we certainly see that being expanded. We see the fact that the radio station is becoming a content business more than an engineering business, and there should not be any barrier or any hurdles to create more content without having to have the engineering side being in the way. This being said, in order to make the cloud a true standard solution across the board, we're already working on things that can help the reliability. For example, we have good friends in the business, and one of those good friends are the people who make sound for the sound processing. I was talking with the head of Sound 4, and I said, with our cloud system, we have a tiny little bit of software, and we have a few thousand songs that people are playing on a radio station, and spots and voice track. You take that on inside your sound processing device and be the backup in case the internet connection goes down. And he said, yeah, let me look at it. And we looked into it together, and we built onboarded version of Zeta, which is inside the sound processing itself, so that we back up on that little chip. And by the way, on the size of your nail, as you know, we could store several thousand songs, and all the logs, and all the voice tracks, and all the spots, and everything that a radio station needs to run. And we put Zeta Cloud in an embarked device, so it's still called Zeta Cloud, but it's working inside the little box, which is at the transmitter. So if you lose the connection to your FM transmitter, that box will take over and will play whatever voice track you have, whatever spot you have, whatever logs you have, the songs, and your station is going to sound just like it sounds without the internet. So trying to be more than just a simple internet connection is what we're working on, so that people can adopt it everywhere. And definitely that device will be accessible by any mobile connection. If you want to update the log, update the voice track, and everything, and it can work on a wired line, or I think Philippe, you had a session on 5G. You know that 5G is going to change the way the world goes, Gary. There are people that are developing 5G application. It's to give an example to the listener, 5G, on a typical highway, you have 3 lanes on one side and 3 lanes on the other side. And that's what we have today with 4G. And the speed limit in France, at least, it's 130 kilometers an hour. With 5G, imagine that this highway will be 25 lanes on one side, 25 lane on the other side, and people will go at 300 miles per hour without any problem of security or anything like that. So once you have that kind of bandwidth, you can take control of any application anywhere, and the application can do anything you want because of the precision of the 5G. Imagine that tomorrow with 5G, you can create an application where you're going to be able to see parking spot on a street live in real time because there's enough bandwidth for that resolution, and the software will tell you, well, there's a car that's there's a parking spot available along that street about 123 meters from here, so you should get it, or go around the block, there's another one there. Things that you can't do today because of the amount of bandwidth that it takes. It's the same thing with radio. We're going to leverage the 5G and be able to control the systems and have high quality audio, multiple channels. And as Jose said, the video will be just coming alongside because we in radio create great content. So I was a good picture with that.
I've often said on content, we should have owned, and I know iHeart's doing a great job of this, but iHeart in the US and around the world, we should have owned the podcasting business. Speaking of content, we're radio people. We should have gotten ahead of that a long time ago. Personal observation. I think we're almost out of time, right? And I don't want to take up the time for the next session. So really appreciate Philippe and Jose your help in your work.
I just have one question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we've spoken a lot about content, but what about in general? The broadcast industry is probably more conservative than many industries. And how do you see the broadcast engineers adopting this technology? I mean, do they feel strange not having that physical device there? Are they uncomfortable with that? And if so, which countries are more advanced with that? And do you see them adopting the technology faster than others or regions?
Philippe, maybe you can take a stab at that.
Yeah, sure, of course. Well, no, I mean, it's no secret. We invented it comes from the US, right? So the largest broadcaster are looking very hard at cloud operation. By the way, there are some hybrid things where you have some gear in some cities, in some markets where you have a big show, and as Jose was mentioning before, the DJ likes to have his spots and build something for a studio, for a console, and have his people live, and the show is a multi-million-dollar show. So you have a terrestrial on-prem software installation there. But for the most part, the system is entirely run from the cloud everywhere. So largest broadcaster in the US are already looking at that, hybrid or totally cloud. The engineers, they love it. Who wants to be getting a call at 2 a.m. because there's an automation system that crapped out? You don't. I mean, anybody who's lived that, and first of all, RCS gets the call for starters. I remember 20 years ago when I was getting those calls. Thanks God, our reliability has improved dramatically. But even with a cloud environment, you don't have that. You have no problem of virus. You have no problem of machine that dies. You have no problem of redundancy. You have no problem of switching studio. So as an engineer, it's a dream come true. It is a dream come true. Look, it's exactly the same thing in a regular enterprise environment. You can have today you have choices for email, for example, right? So you can have the choice of saying, you're the IT manager in any company, Acme, anywhere on the planet. You can have your email server in the building and buy the email server, buy the software, and have everybody linked to the email server for your company. And then you're responsible for maintaining that machine and all that. Or you can go to Office 365, pay $10 a month per user per month, and you have no equipment to buy, no machine to buy, no maintenance. Guess what the engineer is going to pick up? He's going to use the Microsoft Cloud, and Office 365 is going to be he's going to be completely cloud distribution for email, and you don't have anything to maintain. Of course, this is the solution that you want. So, easy.
Right. Very good. Thank you for that information, and thank you all for being with us today. Gary, Jose, Philippe, thank you very much. Very interesting.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everyone. Little jingle, and we go on with a new webinar. Just follow us on connectonet.com. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Radio Week 5 Days of Awards.
5 days of awards.
Inspirations and solutions.
Inspiration.